Nike and LeBron James are back at it with the latest LeBron 18 high, which goes against the most recent shoe right here, a low, which was a collaboration called the Higher Education, a cracking looking shoe. But we're continuing with that kind of theme of outreach, reaching out to communities and also staying strong with families. Today's shoe is all about we are family, but that's not about LeBron James's tight-knit family. That's about the family reaching out, doing charity work. So it's a really cracking shoe. There's a lot going on. I had to say that I was looking at it and thinking they would call it the cantaloupe, because these guys really give me a feeling of that kind of summer melon feel, and it was just the colours, the oranges playing off against the teals on there. It really just feels like a summery shoe, you know, you can imagine it. But it's called the We Are Family, the foundation from LeBron James's family, reaching out, doing community work, doing charity work and stuff like that. So it's a really big shoe in terms of social care and social justice, but it's also a great shoe in terms of basketball design and fashion. So we're going to get into it and have a look at that kind of stuff today, the details on it, looking at the interesting sort of take on the upper, because there's something unique in the construction of the upper and then the placement of the branding, especially about that LeBron James family foundation and all the colours and stuff like that on it too. So without further ado, let's get into it and have a look at the upcoming release of the Nike Lebron 18 We Are Family. This is the Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel です。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください。Every single day from Tokyo, Japan. I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And in the spotlight today is the Nike Lebron 18 We Are Family. It's a great looking shoe. There's a lot going on in it. I like it when the shoes have a little bit of extra detail in there as well. So it's not just your standard churned out silhouette with a different colorway, but there's something new on the shoe too, which we'll get into today. But speaking of new, we'll go back to that most recent Higher Education Lows, a collaboration with Mimi Flange or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce her name, that's terrible. It was a great looking shoe, there was a lot of great details on it, and the mashup there was with Letterman and Varsity jackets, and so it's a great shoe with the little hits on there, but it was a low, and it's great to be back in the sort of Big Brother shoe. I can't remember the last time actually. I thought it was a Fruity Pebbles shoe, but it hasn't been detailed as a Fruity Pebbles shoe, and I made the video about like 6 or 8 weeks ago, but it's only showing up on drop sites now, which is kind of late. But delayed drops is kind of the new norm thanks to the pandemic. Things are not dropping when they are planned or when they are advertised. But these guys is planned for June the 5th, which is not too far away. So if you're interested, grab yourself a pair, and hopefully this video will tell you some details about it that are interesting to you out there. And what we'll do is we'll start with, I'm going to go with the upper first, because that's what I said earlier in this video, that there's something unique about the upper on this shoe. So let's zoom in on that upper, and I'll show you on the green screen here. And basically it's a two-tone upper. Now the first color, I'm going to call it teal. I suppose I could call it opal or something like that, but I'm pretty sure that blue on there is teal. But then the second color on there is the orange. So it's those two colors that give me that cantaloupe feel, and it makes me think of summer and you know, just chilling out and relaxing in the summer. But the upper on there, so you've got teal, but then behind that you've got the second color is orange. Now I hope I've been able to zoom in on it properly here on the green screen. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Is that second color in orange. It comes through in a really structured pattern, and I haven't really noticed it on other LeBron 18s. Now they're basically the same upper and the same materials, but maybe it's to do with the colors and the two different colors playing off of each other and giving you an idea of that structure in a way that you haven't noticed it before. But really the second color, the orange, is like it's on a grid that runs through behind the teal, and the dots just coming through on a really sort of structured sequence throughout the upper. So hopefully you're zoomed in on that there and you can see it close up. But when you pan back out and have a look at the upper from further away, it kind of gives the upper a bit of a dirty feel. You know, if we flip it around to the heel and give an idea of what it looks like when it's just teal. This is one of the few places on the shoe that's kind of pure and just teal. You've also got it on the front of the outsole, but we'll get to that later. But on the back of them and the heel, you can see just that all blue feel, and it's got a really bright pop and feel to it. But if you contrast that with the front end of the shoe that we were just at, and you can see the second layer of the upper on there gives it a kind of dirty feel. It sort of brings down the teal, tones it out a little bit. So, but it kind of, I don't know, there's something about it that really works for me. It's like it's like a unique color. The teal has been pulled into a direction that isn't natural teal, and I kind of like it. I kind of dig that. So that's the two colors at play on this, the teal and the orange. And if we go forward from that to the front end of the shoe, you get to see the swoosh on the front of these guys there, which is, I thought it was gold at first when I looked at it from far away, but then close up, zoomed in like you've got here. I'm going to still stick with a bit of gold in there, but I'm going to call it orange gold, the swoosh on the right on the end of the toe box. Is something that's worth pointing out, because sometimes that swoosh is in contrast to the upper, but in the case of these guys, it so totally matches the second color in the orange there. But it's always interesting to see whether or not that front swoosh matches the medial side swoosh, which looks like this, kind of two-tone effect in color, but also in actual like texture. The little squares run through. It's like a pixelated swoosh, and it's more orange, I would say, than the toe swoosh, but there is a sort of contrast. The two go together well as a connection between that medial side swoosh and that lateral side toe box swoosh. And then if we go back to the lateral side, if we go have a look at my favorite thing on the LeBron 18s, is the line that runs through the midsole on the front part of the shoe, and then there's a break and then a line in the back part of the shoe. And they've gone with something interesting here, because what I usually like is when they match up. So if you had like teal and opal on the front part of the shoe, then on the back part of the shoe you'd have opal and teal playing off for each other. What they've got on these guys is you've got teal and orange on the front, so you'd be looking at orange and teal on the back, which doesn't happen. But directly below that on the outsole, you can see that orange coming out. So instead of it being a balance between the line running across the midsole on these guys and into that, can we call it a branding panel on the back where it says from the city of Akron, Ohio, that below that instead of that little panel with the writing on it being in orange, below that you've got the orange part of the outsole. So if you kind of look at the shoe lateral side all on, you can see that connection between the line at the front of the shoe and the outsole instead of the line at the back of the shoe. But I kind of like it, you know, I look for that every time. It's a detail that I kind of really appreciate. Since we're on the outsole and the midsole, we'll go there first before we go to the reason I got into this shoe next. So first looking at the outsole on these guys, and you've got that front half in teal and the back half in orange, and again that feeling of summer and that feeling of cantaloupe that I was talking about, and all through the middle of that a straight line of holes that look through into the shoe, and a great looking outsole on these guys. I think it really sort of brings the top half of the shoe, but it separates them out into two parts instead of it all being woven together like the top half of the shoe. On the bottom it's all sort of separated out and clear, but it works because again if you go back to that lateral side, you can see how you see it from the side. It really makes a nice feature on the shoe and looks kind of really neat. And then the last thing to really do is to go up above and have a look down onto the shoe. Now I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, and hopefully I'll find a few ways to do it, but the reason I really got into these shoes, these 18, this particular colorway, We Are Family, is because of the tongues and the sort of detailing on there. There's this very fine line detailing on the tongues on these guys, and what it is a tessellation, a pattern repeating all the way across the tongues of crowns, and it's something I hadn't noticed or seen before in LeBron 18s. Now it may be that they've been on other shoes and I just haven't noticed them, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is unique for these We Are Families, and that was the thing that really drew me in, was the tongues on there with that kind of discreet, subtle detailing, which is unusual for LeBron, if you know what I'm saying. And then right below that, on the LeBron 18 highs, these there are 3 air units that run up the tongue, which you don't see on the lows. And in the middle air unit on these guys, you see a very clear We Are Family moniker to go with that family foundation. Sometimes these air units are kind of cloudy and shadowy and hard to see what's going on in them, but that middle one on here, We Are Family, is absolutely clear what's saying in there, and it's telling you that this shoe is all about that family foundation. And speaking of the family foundation, if we go back a bit from that and look down onto the insole, very hard to see what's going on in there, but then if you look at them taken out, ding, there's the insoles pulled out, so you can get a look at the very clear shout out to the family foundation. So it's very clear that it's not just about the family, like representing brothers and sisters and wives and parents and stuff like that, but representing the family's foundation and the charitable work they do in the community. So it's got a definite sort of feel of family in the shoe, but it push into the foundation side of things. The one place that really comes out is on the insoles, with that crest towards the back end of the insoles. And with that being said, that's pretty much it for today. A great looking LeBron 18. I've kind of grown to like the LeBron 18s. They're still a bit clunky for me, that kind of transition from the knitted front part of the shoe into the molded back part of the shoe is still a bit jarring for me, but these guys do a pretty good job of winding and welding and melding and knitting all the different bits together, because it's basically a two-tone shoe in teal and orange. If there were more colours on there, I think it would get a bit lost, but it's a two-tone shoe, and I guess the primary colour is the teal on there with the orange playing second fiddle, so it gets a bit more kind of solidity about it instead of having the two half parts that a lot of LeBron 18s tend to have. And with that being said, that's it, wrapped up, finished for the day. Hopefully you guys appreciate the content and appreciate this video about the LeBron 18. We are family. I'm sure there'll be plenty more coming as we go through the summer. The Lakers, I think, are still on the playoffs. I'm shooting this on Sunday morning. Last time I checked, it was 1-1, but I think the Lakers played yesterday in the Staples Center in Los Angeles, so we'll see if there's been a change in the scoreline. But for now, time for me just to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you I do this every single day. And that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.